this autonomic portion, fight or flight. Because this system and its subdivisions, I should say, the subdivisions of this system control that. Everybody's familiar with that, right? The fight or flight, okay? I have a friend, and you know, she's a little bit older than me, and so she's very opinionated. I'm sure you all have encountered people like that, right? But she cracks me up because she goes, Danette, you've got the fight part, and I've got the flight. She's like, I'll say it and run, but you won't. So, you know, it kind of cracks me up that she says that. She talks about this fight or flight. Well, Walter Cannon is the one who gave us these terms because, yes, he did a lot of study with the autonomic nervous system. And he pretty much determined, now note, he's using the entire term animals, okay, because we're animals, and they cannot survive without this system. Without the autonomic nervous system being intact, life cannot exist. Now, we have come a long way in keeping individuals alive with machinery and so forth. But without that machinery, they wouldn't be alive. So, this system, we do note a motor nervous system. Motor. We're going to get effects, EFFs, okay? Effects to glands. Let that think about our oil glands, sweat glands, okay? But I want you also thinking about the diencephalon, all right? I want you thinking about the hypothalamus, okay? Cardiac muscle, because what controls my skeletal muscle? Up to this point, we have talked about everything in relationship to skeletal muscle. That has been controlled by what part? My spinal nerves, my peripheral nervous system, and its connection to the central nervous system. So we often, you may have read about it in the text or in the notes, that was the somatic nervous system. Does everybody remember that term? Okay. So now, my autonomic nervous system is picking up the other two types of muscle we have. It is picking up my cardiac and my smooth. All right? Does that make sense? So, yes, it's going to also be known as our visceral motor system. Now, it has organs, the primary organs. The organs are viscera of my thoracic cavity, my abdominal cavity, my pelvic cavity, my torso. All right? It is going to be made up of some structures of what is termed the body wall. What? What is that? Let it think. Let it bring to mind this barrier from inside to outside. Layers of like the dermis, epidermis, hypodermis. Think of this as your wall. Okay? So stuff coming up to that area. Blood vessels. This is why I wanted to bring those to mind. Okay? Sweat glands. Piloerector muscles. What? Yes. Makes your hair stand on end. Do you control that? Why does it do it? I'm always amazed at this little muscle.
One is like when we get cold.
Might get cold. That's the body monitoring temperature. Why else does hair stand on end?
Get scared.
When you're scared. Okay, you guys. Something that is so cool about this system and the hypothalamus, yeah, is really cool. Okay. Early man had to worry about fighting the saber-toothed tiger, okay, with the club, okay? Y'all, I'm just trying to give y'all some ideas, all right? And the way and early man was covered in tons of hair, okay? Now we know that some people now, but anyway, covered in tons of hair. One of the ways that their bodies could detect a possible threat was the hair standing on end. Pay attention to that even today. If you're in a situation around a person, whatever the case might be, that the hair is standing on the back of your neck, and you're like, time out, buddy, back up. Personal space. Usually, you need to pay attention to that because it's picking up stuff you're not. That is so cool. Think about that. Piloerector muscles. They have a connection to a nerve fiber of my autonomic nervous system. Kristen?
Random question. Sometimes, like, when my hair will stand up, if I listen to music that I really like, have they determined why that happens?
Well, now, because I have to always stop and think, because I have a 141 class on Monday, Wednesday, and my 142 Tuesday, Thursday. So I'm always forgetting which class I've told what, okay? So I think it was in my Monday, Wednesday class this week that we were talking, maybe, I can't remember, it might have been this class. But one of the things about this system, it's going to associate feelings also, okay? So let's say that that's a song that maybe brought up certain memories. It could have been a song, you know how they'll be like, oh, the song touched me so much I cried. You know, that sort of thing. It's an emotion, and this system does work with that. We see that come into play also. So, this ANS.
Excuse me. I'm sorry. Have you ever seen that cartoon with the cars, the grooves or something?
With the what?
It's like a cave. It's like a cartoon movie. It's like the gourds or the grooves. But this here, it explains what you're talking about really good. Like as far as using only how cavemen only use the part of their brain.
Mm-hmm.
Like it explains it in like a cartoon way. Like explaining this to my kids the other night we were watching.
Remind me at break time
Yeah.
so I can look it up.
Yeah, but it's really like only using like against the home and everything. Like it really like
Yeah, because they,
the hair standing and all that.
because very early man, okay, very early man, the part of the brain responsible for higher order thinking, which is the cerebrum, was not well developed. So the other areas of the brain, such as the cerebellum and the brainstem, were more well developed. And they are those areas of the brain deal with parts of the body we don't think about. And that's why they were more in tune to the things that needed to be done to keep the individual alive. Because that's the goal of any species, is to reproduce and keep the species alive. This is what that system's involved with. And so this system is involved with keeping the species alive and allowing it to reproduce. So it reminds me about that so I can look at it.
And in the movie though, the one guy, he's like just all on the autonomic nervous system, like he's just surviving off of that. And then the other guy, he's like,
Yes.
are involved in like, you know, he's like using his brain, but they use like medical terms in funny ways and stuff like that. But it's funny.
Yeah, because over time, the cerebrum is the area of the brain that is increased in size the most. Which is why over the time scale, over the geological time scale, is why you have seen the shape of early man to what we have now as what they call modern man. You know, what we have seen change a lot. And that's because the cerebrum was increasing, and that's the seat of conscious control, what we actually think about doing. This part doesn't, we're not thinking about what it's doing. This system is involuntary. It is without our conscious intent or awareness. Visceral effectors. Now note the terminology, okay? This means to carry out the effect, okay? That's been given. Does not depend on it, but we need it to adjust the activity. What did I just tell you?
Well, this is going to work on its own anyways, but that's just helping it adjust to the scenario or task at hand.
Because the body has to meet the demands placed upon it. So this would be functioning, okay, but because every day, all day long, 24/7, 365, 366 if it's a leap year, okay, this system helps adjust the activity, meet the demand of the organ it is innervating. Make sense?
So it's like, okay, so if you get cold, right, so your body's already, so if you get cold, you get like the chill bumps, right, to help make you a little warm, right? Is that kind of like, is that the connection that you're trying to make?
The connection we're trying to make, if you were to get cold,
Right.
what it would do is it would give commands for the blood to be channeled to the core, because the goal of the body is to keep the brain going first, organs second. Everything else out here, it can freeze and fall off as far as the core is concerned, okay? Think about where people get frostbite. They get frostbite out here. Ears might fall off, fingers might fall off, toes might fall off, okay? Because the body's going, I don't need you anyway, okay? But I need this. So it's pushing the blood here, which means it's pulling it from the cutaneous, pulling from capillaries, pulling from the vessels, channeling it here, and your muscles, they're going to become aware. And if you get cold enough, that's going to turn into the shivering, because the skeletal muscles shivering generate heat. But all that heat that it generates is going to send the blood to the core. It's still going to be like, fall off, I don't care. That's what your body's saying. So,